Hi everyone, Rocco Polino from Innovative Cloud Solutions. And in this video, we're going to walk you through some of the changes that have been made, enhancements to PRM as part of the move to the cloud. And in particular, we're going to look at a few of the departments or groups, namely the STS team, the PL team, and the PRA team, and show enhancements. Now, we met during the fall, had one-on-one meetings with each of your teams. And during those meetings, people brought up things that they would really like to see us improve as part of this move. And here's what we were able to put into the system in time for this cloud move. Other enhancements will be coming in the future. So for the STS team, one of their big pain points was how do we find a provider request form based on the claimant number as opposed to other search information. So we've added claimant number to the quick find search capabilities. We also added a column for claimant number in provider request form views number 1, 3, 15, 25, and 26. And we added the claimant number itself to the form, the provider request form, and display it in the request for information section. So this was by far the biggest request of the STS team. We were able to make all of those changes. We'll take a look at those in just a minute. On the provider liaison meetings, what we heard was that if for those doing TPL phone calls, that the form was had a lot of fields of information that didn't relate to TPL, and users had to create a phone call, then scroll all the way down the form to get to the sections that dealt with their phone calls. So instead, we've added a brand new TPL phone call activity form, and you'll use that form when you make your calls. Also, one of the big challenges that we had at QTC was the provider record, the provider form had run out of capacity, meaning there were so many fields on that form that we couldn't add any more. So one of the objectives we had throughout this upgrade was how can we still give you all that data, but get some of those fields off of that form. And we did that. One of the areas we did that in is in the CPEP training. So now you're going to find there's a form just for CPEP training, and that form allowed us to remove some 60 fields from the contact record and added them to the CPEP training, and then link that CPEP training form back to the provider. You'll see how that works in a minute. And then lastly, on the PRA team, we created a brand new entity and subgrid to replace many of the data fields that were on the provider form in the PRA section. We've enlarged the size of the PRA notes, and we provided a new field for escalation response notes. So you can put your response notes into this text field, and they would be separate from other notes on the PRA. Users requested the ability to add an escalation type field on the PRA, so we've done that. And we've added a timeline now to the PRA form, so you could see just the activities related to the PRA function, not have to look through other activities from other users in order to get to the things that were important to you. So that's an overview. Let's take a look at how all of this looks. So the first thing we're going to do is go to the provider request form section, and we can get there. Now the navigation is here on the left, and if I scroll down this left side area, I'll see the PRFs or provider request forms are right here. Now you'll notice the visual on the system looks a little different, hopefully a little nicer, and but you still have the quick find search boxes here in the top right hand corner, and I can still do everything I used to do with the quick find box, but now in addition to that, I can do a search on claimant number. So I can enter the whole or a portion of the claimant number and it will find any provider request forms that contain the number that I type. And you can see here in the search results view, I can see the claimant number. When I open the provider request form, you'll see claimant number is displayed right here. And if we go back to our provider request views, in view number 1, we have our claimant number over here. And we have it on all of the other views that you requested. View number 3, the STS initial or repeat SAS request. View number 15, STS request pending OM. You can see claimant number. And then on view 25 and 26, the PRF full list view, claimant number, and 26, provider request forward to credentialing, and claimant number is in here. Now we're in the dev system, so the data is not real, but you get the idea. So those were the enhancements we made for the STS team. Let's take a look at the enhancements made for the provider liaison. The first thing we did was, as we mentioned, now when I go to a provider request form and go to associated activities, I'll see here that I have separate subgrids for recruitment phone calls and TPL phone calls. Now these grids have been enlarged. The old grids only allowed you to see 4 at a time. We've made that at least 10. So you'll see all of the phone calls here in the grid. When you go to add a phone call, you'll notice that the TPL phone call activity form now just has the fields associated with TPL. You don't have to scroll all the way down to find your fields. Everything, the hamburger is gone, but we have the tabs that will show you the different fields that are available. And they are here on the TPL phone call. So that was the first area that we made changes. The second area was to free up some of the fields on the provider form that related to CPEP training. So now there is a dedicated CPEP training form. And when we take a look at that, if we look at some of the new ones, now we have a nice CPEP training form, nice visual. We have the tabs going across for the different components of the CPEP training. The good thing was these were all fields that were on the provider record that we've now put onto this form, freeing up a lot of future growth and improvements on the provider record. Now, when I go to a provider and pull up their record, you'll notice that along the top, there will be a CPEP and training tab. And when I click on that tab, instead of seeing all the fields, you'll see a link to the CPEP training form. And when I click on that form, it'll bring the record up for that provider. So those are the changes we made for the provider liaison team. And the last area that we made improvements was for PRA. So let's go to the PRA form and we'll take a look at, just so we have some data, completed escalations. And if we take a look at one of these, this is the new PRA form. You can see we have the provider information, the initial contact information, large area for PRA notes, and some better visuals, the 2 and 4 week contact area. In the escalations for PRA, as you requested, there now is a notes area just for escalation response notes. So you have a lot of room here to type. This was one of the requests, to be able to have escalation response notes separate from other notes on the PRA. The other request was to be able to identify an escalation type. So you could see now there's an escalation type field, and you could see that. Any activities related to the PRA now will appear in their own timeline here under the Activities tab of the PRA. If we go to the provider, in this case Robert Buckingham, we'll be able to see, when we go to this provider into the PRA section, we'll be able to see all of the active PRAs and all of the completed ones for this provider. So that's it. Takes us through the enhancements made for STS, PL, and PRA. I hope you found it helpful as you transition to the new system. Thank you very much for your time.